community reading of Homer's epic poem, co-sponsored by the Classical Studies Program, the Villanova Center for Liberal Education, and the Falvey Memorial Library. I'm Gary Meltzer, Director of Graduate Studies in Classics. I want to thank my colleagues and friends for their help producing this event, and thank all of you for coming this morning. Your presence proves that Homer's Odyssey does indeed live on today, some 2,700 years after it was originally composed. Our community reading will start in a few minutes and continue till close to midnight. Please come back anytime during the day, even for just a few minutes, to experience the magic of Homer's poetry as it was originally intended to be experienced, not read in silent isolation, but performed live in front of an audience. Homer's story of Odysseus' return home to Greece after 10 years of fighting in the Trojan War is not only an enchanting tale, but also an instructive one. To arrive home safely, Odysseus must overcome a whole host of obstacles: storms and shipwrecks, cannibalistic tribes, one-eyed monsters, meddling gods, and temptresses, both mortal and divine. Once back home, he must confront a horde of young nobles who have taken over his estate. In surmounting all these obstacles, Odysseus teaches us the value of managing our emotions and focusing on our essential priorities if we want to achieve our goals. We hope that this marathon performance will encourage you to reread Homer's epic and other great texts in the classical tradition, texts that inspire us to think about what matters most and how best to live our lives. We are very grateful to Father Peter Donahue, the president of Villanova University, for leading off our reading this morning. Father Peter is ideally suited to bring this ancient text to life in all its drama, immediacy, and power. Before becoming Villanova's president 2 years ago, he chaired the theater department for 13 years and directed many award-winning theatrical productions on campus. Anyone who has seen him give a speech, deliver a homily, or act on stage knows that we're in for a real treat this morning. Please join me in thanking him for bringing Homer's great epic to life.
I will not be here till midnight. Book 1, Athena inspires the prince. Sing to me of the man muse, the man of twists and turns, driven time and again off course, once he had plundered the hallowed heights of Troy. Many cities of men he saw and learned their minds, many pains he suffered, heartsick on the open sea, fighting to save his life and bringing his comrades home. But he could not save them from disaster. Hard as he strove, the recklessness of their own ways destroyed them all. The blind fools, the devoured the cattle of the sun, and the sun god wiped from the sight of the day of their return. Launch out on his story, muse, daughter of Zeus. Start from where you will. Sing for our time too. By now all the survivors, all who avoided headlong death, were safe at home as witching nymph. The lustrous goddess held him back, deep in her arching caverns, craving him for a husband. But then, when the wheeling seasons brought the year round, the year spun out by the gods, when he should reach his home, Ithaca. But not even there would he be free of trials. Even among his loved ones, the every god took pity, all except Poseidon. He raged on, seething against the great Odysseus, till he reached his native land. But now Poseidon had gone to visit the Ethiopians worlds away, Ethiopians off at the furthest limits of mankind, a people split in two, one part where the sun god sets, the part where the sun god rises. There Poseidon went to receive an offering, bulls and rams by the hundred, far away from the feast of the sea lord sat and took his pleasure. But the other gods at home, in Olympian Zeus's halls, met for full assembly there, and among them now the father of men and gods was first to speak, sorely troubled, remembering handsome Aegisthus, the man Agamemnon's son, renowned Orestes killed. Recalling Aegisthus, Zeus harangued the immortal powers. Oh, how shameless the way these mortals blame the gods from us alone. They say, come all their miseries, yes, but they themselves with their own reckless ways compound their pains beyond their proper share. Look at Aegisthus now, above and beyond his share. He stole Atreus' wife. He murdered the warlord coming from Troy, though now he knew it meant his own total ruin. Far in advance, we told him so ourselves, dispatching the guard, the giant killer Hermes. Don't murder the man, he said. Don't court his wife. Beware, revenge will come from Orestes, Agamemnon's son. That day he comes of age and longs for his native land. Now he pays the price, all at a single stroke. And sparkling-eyed Athena drove the matter home. Let them all die so, all who do such things. But my heart breaks for Odysseus, that seasoned veteran cursed by fate so long. Far from his loved ones, still he suffers torments, off on a wave-washed island, rising at the center of the seas. A dark, wooded island, and there a goddess makes her home, a daughter of Atlas, wicked Titan, who sounds the deep in all the depths, whose shoulders lift on high the colossus pillars, thrusting earth and sky apart. Atlas's daughter it is who holds Odysseus captive. Luckless man, despite his tears, forever trying to spellbound his heart with suave, seductive words, and wipe all thought of Ithaca from his mind. But he, straining for no more than a glimpse of hard smoke, drifting up from his own land, Odysseus longs to die. Olympian Zeus, have you no care for him in your lofty heart? Did he never win your favor with sacrifices, burn beside the ships on the broad plain of Troy? Why, Zeus, why so dread set against Odysseus? My child, Zeus, who marshals the thunderheads, replied, what nonsense you let slip through your teeth. Now, how on earth could I forget Odysseus? Great Odysseus, who excels all men in wisdom, excels in offering too. He gives the immortal gods who rule the vaulting skies. No, it's the earth shaker, Poseidon, unappeased, forever fuming against him with the Cyclops, whose giant eye he blinded, godlike Palamesus, towering over all of Cyclops' clans and power. The nymph Torso bore him, daughter of Porsus, now lord of the land, of the lord of the barren sea salt. She set Poseidon once in his vaulted caves, and they made love. And now for his blinded son, the earthquake god, though he won't quite kill Odysseus, drives him far off course from native land. But come, all of us here, put heads together now, work out his journey home, so Odysseus can return. Lord Poseidon, I trust, will let his anger go. How can he stand his ground against the will of all the gods at once, one god alone? Athena, her eyes flashing bright, exalted, Father, son of Cronus on high and mighty king, if now it really pleases the blissful gods that wise Odysseus shall return home at last, let us dispatch the guard and giant killer Hermes down to Agage Island, down to announce at once to the nymph with lovely braids our fixed decree. Odysseus' journey's home. The exile must return, while I myself go down to Ithaca, rouse his son to a braver pitch, inspire his heart with courage, to summon the flowing-haired Acrians to full assembly, speak his mind to all those suitors, slaughtering on and on his droves of sheep and shambling longhorn cattle. Next I will send him off to Sparta and Sandy Palus, there to learn of his dear father's journey home. Perhaps he will hear some news and make his name throughout the mortal world." So Athena vowed, and under her feet she fastened the supple sandals, ever-glowing gold, the wing her over the waves. And boundless earth with the rush of gusting winds, she seized the rugged spear tipped with a bronze point, weighted heavy, the massive shaft she wields to break the lines of heroes the mighty father's daughter storms against. And down she swept from Olympia's craggy peaks and lit on to Ithaca, standing tall at Odysseus's gates, the threshold of his court. Gripping her bronze spear, she looked far off the world like a stranger now. Like Mentis, land of Talthians, there she found the swaggering suitors, just then amusing themselves with rolling dice before the doors, lounging on hides of oxen they had killed themselves, while heralds and brisk attendants bustled around them, some of the mixed bowls muling wine and water, over others wiping the tables down with sopping sponges, setting them out in place. Still other servants jointed and carved the great sides of meat. First by far, she saw whose Prince Telemachus standing among the suitors, heart obsessed with grief. He could almost see his magnificent father here in the mind's eye. If only he might drop from the clouds and drive these suitors all en route throughout the halls, and regain his pride of place and rule his own dominions. Daydreaming so as he sat among the suitors, he glimpsed Athena now, and straight to the porch he went, mortified that a guest might still be standing at the doors, pausing beside her there. He clasped his right hand, and relieving her at once of her long bronze spear, met her with winged words. "Greetings, stranger. Here in our house you'll find a royal welcome. Have supper first, then tell us what you need." He led the way, and Pallas, Athenius, followed. Once in the high-roofed hall, he took her lance and fixed it firm in a burnished rack against a sturdy pillar. There where the roll on high, elaborate chair of honor, over it draped a cloth, and here he placed his guest with a stool to rest her feet. But for himself he drew up a long reclining chair beside her, richly painted, clear of the press of suitors. Concerned his guest, offered by her uproar, might shrink from food in the midst of such a mob. He hoped that's what's more to ask her about his long-lost father. A maid brought water soon in a graceful golden pitcher, and over a silver basin tipped it out so that they might rinse their hands, then pulled a gleaming table to their side. A staid housekeeper brought on bread to serve them, appetizers aplenty too, lavish with her bounty. A carver lifted platters of meat towards them, meats of every sort, and set beside them golden cups, and time and again a page came round and poured them wine. But now the suitors trooped in with all their swagger, heaped high on trays, and the young men brimmed the mixing bowls with wine. They reached out for the good things that lay at hand, and when they put aside desire for food and drink, the suitors set their minds on other pleasures, song and dancing, and all the crowns a feast. A herald placed an ornate lyre in Primus's hands, the bard who always performed among them. They forced the man to sing a rippling prelude. And no sooner had he struck up his rousing song than Telemachus, head close to Athena's sparkling eyes, spoke low to his guest so no one else could hear. "Dear stranger, would you be shocked by what I say? Look at them over there. Not a care in the world, just lyres and tunes. It's easy for them, all right. They feed on others' gods and go scout-free. A man whose white bones lay strewn in the rain somewhere, rotting away in the land or rolling down the ocean's salty sways. But that man, If they caught sight of him home in Ithaca, by God, they'd all pray to be faster on their feet, than richer in bars of gold and heavy robes. But now, no use. He's died a wretched death. No comfort left for us. Not even if someone somewhere says he's coming home, the day of his return will never dawn. Enough. Tell me about yourself now, clearly point by point. Who are you? Where are you from? Your city, your parents, your sort of vessel brought you. Why did the sailors land you here in Ithaca? Who did they say they are? I hardly think you came this way on foot. And tell me this for a fact. I need to know. If this your first time here, or are you a friend of the fathers, a guest from old days? Once crowds of other men would come to our house on visits. Visitor that he was when he walked among the living. Her eyes glinting, goddess Athena answered, my whole story, of course, I'll tell is point by point. Wise old, sailing the wine-dark sea to foreign ports to call, to Themis, out for bronze, our cargo gleaming iron. Our ships lied moored off farmlands far from town, riding in Rhythion Cove, beneath Mount Neon's woods. And for the ties beneath your father and myself, we've been friends forever, I'm proud to say, and he would bear me out if you went and questioned our old Lord Lantus. He, I gather, no longer ventures into town, but lives a life of hardship all to himself, off on his farmstead with an age-serving woman who tends him well, who gives him food and drink when weariness has taken hold of his withered limbs from hauling himself along the vineyard's steep slopes. And now I've come. And why? I heard that he was back. Your father, that is. But no, the gods thwart his passage. Yes, I tell you, great Odysseus is not dead. He's still alive, somewhere in this wide world, held captive out at sea, on a wave-washed island, and hard men savages somehow hold him back against his will. Wait, I'll make you a prophecy one of immortal gods have planted in my mind. It will come true, I think, though I hardly see or know the flights of birds. He won't be gone long from his native land he loves, not even if iron shackles bind your father down. He's plodding away to journey home at last. He's never at a loss. But come, please, tell me about yourself now, point by point. You're truly Odysseus' son. You're sprung up so. Uncanny resemblance. The head and the fine eyes, I see him now. How often we used to meet in these old days before he embarked for Troy, where other gave very day. I've not set eyes on Odysseus, or he on me. And young Telemachus cautiously replied, I'll try, my friend, to give you a frank answer. Mother has always told me I'm his son, it's true, but I'm not so certain. Who on his own has ever really known who gave him life? Would to God I'd been the son of a happier man, whom old age overtook in the midst of his possessions. Now think of the most unlikely mortal ever born, since you ask me. Yes, they say I am his son. Still, the clear-eyed goddess reassured him, trust me, the gods have not marked out your house for such an unsung future. Not in Penelope has born a son like you. But tell me about all this and spare me nothing. What's this banqueting, this crowd carousing here? And what part do you play yourself? Some wedding gorging in your house? Why any man of sense who chanced among them would be outraged seeing such behavior? Ready Telemachus took her up at once. Well, my friend, seeing you want to probe and press the question, once this house was rich, no doubt beyond reproach, when the men who mentioned still alive here at home. Now the gods have reversed our fortunes with a vengeance, wiped the man from the earth like no one else before. I would never have grieved so much about his death if he had gone down with comrades off in Troy, or dead in the arms of loved ones. and he had wound down the long coil of war. Then all united, Ake would have raised the tomb, and when he'd have won his son great fame for years to come. But now the whirlwinds have ripped him away. No fame for him. He's lost and gone now, out of sight, out of mind, and he's left me tears and grief. Now I do track my heart and grieve for him alone, no longer. Now the gods have invented other miseries to plague me. Listen, all the nobles who rule the islands round about, Tulkian and the same, the wooded Zachanus too, and all who lorded in rocky Ithaca as well, down to the last man they court my mother. They lay waste my house, and my mother, she neither rejects a marriage she despises, nor can she bear to bring the courting to an end, while they continue to bleed my household white. Soon, you wait, they'll grind me down as well. Shameful, brimming with indignation, Pallas Athena broke out. Oh, how much you need Odysseus, gone so long. How he'd lay hands on all these brazen suitors, if only he would appear now at his house outer gates and take his stand, armed with his helmet, shield, and pair of spears, as strong a man I'd glimpsed the first time in his own house, drinking wine and reveling there, just come from Ephyra, visiting Elysus, Meramis' son. Odysseus sailed that way, you see, in his swift-trimmed ship, hunting deadly poison to smear on the arrows' bronze heads. Ilus refused. He feared the wrath of his everlasting gods. But father, so fond of him, gave him all he wanted, if only that Odysseus supported with these suitors a blood wedding, a quick death would take the lot. True, but all lies in the lap of the great gods, whether or not he'll come and pay them back here in his own house. But you, I urge you, think how to drive these suitors from your halls. Come now, listen closely. Take my words to heart. At daybreak, summon the island lords to full assembly. Give your orders to all and call the gods to witness. Tell the suitor to scatter, each in his own place. As for your mother, if the spirit moves her to marry, let her go back to her father's house, a man of power. Her kin will arrange the wedding, provide the gifts, the array that goes with a daughter dearly loved. For you I have some good advice, if only you will accept it. Fit out a ship with 20 oars, the best in sight, sail in quest of news of your long-lost father. Someone tell you something, or you may catch a rumor straight from Zeus, rumor that carries news to men like nothing else. First go down to Pallas, question old King Nestor, then cross over to Sparta, to red-haired Menelaus, and all the bronze-armored Achaeans, the last man back. Now, if you hear your father's alive and heading home, hard-pressed as you are, brave out one more year. If you hear he's dead, no longer among the living, then back you come to the native land you love. Raise his grave mound, build his honors high, with the full funeral rites that he deserves, and give your mother to another husband. Then, once you've sealed those matters, seen them through, think hard, reach down deep in your heart and soul for a way to kill these suitors in your house, by stealth, or in open combat. You must not cling to your boyhood any longer. It's time you were a man. Haven't you heard what glory Prince Orestes won throughout the world when he killed that cunning, murderous Aegisthus who killed his famous father? And you, my friend, how tall and handsome I see you now. Be brave, you too, so men to come will sing your praise down the years. But now I must go back to my swift-trimmed ship, and all my shipmates chaffing there, I'm sure, waiting for my return. It all rests with you. Take my words to heart. Oh, stranger, heedful Timocles replied, indeed I will. You counseled me with so much kindness now, like a father to a son. I won't forget a word, but come, stay longer, keen as you are to sail, so you can bathe and rest and lift your spirits. Then go back to your ship, delighted with a gift, a prize of honor, something rare and fine as a keepsake from myself. the kind of gift a host will give a stranger, friend to friend. Her eyes glinting, Pallas declined in haste. Not now. Don't hold me here. I long to be on my way. As for the gift, whatever you give in kindness, save it for my return, so I can take it home. Choose something rare and find, a good reward that gift is going to bring you. With that promise, off and away, encouraged, charged with his father's memory more than ever now. He felt like a god himself. Amidst them still, the famous bard sang on, and they sat in silence, listening as he performed the Achaeans' journey room, and deep in thought, she caught his inspired strains. Icarus' daughter, Penelope, weary and reserved, and down the steep stair from her chamber she descended. Not alone. 2 of her women followed close behind. The radiant woman, once she reached her suitors, drawing her glistening veil across her cheek, paused now where a column propped the sturdy roof, with one of her loyal handmaids stationed either side. Suddenly, dissolving in tears and bursting through the bard's inspired voice, she cried out, "Priamus! So many other songs you know, to hold us spellbound, works of the gods and men that singers celebrate. Sing one of those as you sit beside them here, and they drink their wine in silence. But break off this song, this unendurable song that always renders the heart inside me, the unforgettable grief it wounds me most of all. How I long for my husband, alive in memory always, the great man whose famous resounds these Hellas rites to the depths of Argus." "Why, mother," poised Timocles, but put in sharply, "why deny our devoted bard the chance to entertain us? In way the spirit stirs him on. Bards are not to blame, Zeus is to blame. He deals to each and every laborer on this earth whatever doom he pleases. What fault the bard if he sings the Argives' harsh fault? It's always the latest song, the one that echoes last in the listener's ear, that people praise the most. Courage, mother, harden your heart, and listen. Odysseus was scarcely the only one you know, whose journey home was blotted at Troy. Others, so many others, died there too. So, mother, go back to your quarters, tend to your own task, and distaff in the loom, and keep the women working hard as well. As for giving orders, men will see to that. But I, most of all, I hold the reins of power in this house." Astonished, she withdrew to her own room. She took to her heart the clear good sense in what her son had said. Climbing up to the lofty chamber with her women, she fell in weeping for Odysseus, her beloved husband, till watchful Athena sealed her eyes with welcome sleep. But the suitors broke into an uproar through the shadowed halls, all of them lifting prayers to lie beside her, share her bed, until discreet Timocles took command. "You suitors who plunge my mother, you who insult overweening for the evening, let us dine and take our pleasure. No more shouting now. What a fine thing it is to listen to such a bard as we have here. The man sings like a god. But at last light, we all march forth to assembly. Take our seats so I can give my orders and say to you straight out, you must leave my palace. See to your feasting elsewhere. Devour your own possessions, house to house by turns. But if you decide, carve away. But I cry out to the everlasting gods in hope that Zeus will pay you back with vengeance, all of you, destroyed in my house while I go scot-free myself." So Timocles declared, and they all bit their lips, amazed the prince could speak with so much daring. Eupidius' son, Antinius, broke their silence. "Well, Timocles, only the gods could teach you to sound so high and mighty. Such brave talk. I pray that Zeus will make your king of Ithaca, though your father's crown is no doubt yours by birth." But cool-headed Timocles counted firmly. "Antinius, even though my words may offend you, I'd be happy to take the crown if Zeus presents it. You think that nothing worse could befall a man? It's really not so bad to be king. All at once, your palace grows in wealth, your honors grow as well. But there are hosts of others Achaean princes look. Look, young and old, crowds of them on our island here. And any of them of the lot might hold the throne. Not great Theseus is dead. Now great Theseus is dead. But I'll be lord of my own house and servants, all that King Odysseus won from me by force. And so Eurymachus, Polybus' son, stepped in. Surely this must lie in the gods' lap, Telemachus, when Arcadian will lord it over great Ithaca. So hold it in Ithaca. But about your guest, dear boy, I have some questions. Where does he come from? Where is the country, his birth, his father's old estates? Did he bring some news of your father, his return? Or did he come on business of his own? How he leapt to his feet and off he went, not waiting around for proper introductions. And no mean man, but not by the looks of him, I'd say. Telemachus answered shrewdly, Clearly my father's journey home is lost forever. I no longer trust in rumors from the blue, nor bother with any prophecy when mother calls some wizard into the house to ask him questions. As for the stranger, though, the man's an old family friend from Talpus, wise Ancalius' son. He says his name is Mentis, lord of Tapian men who love their oars. So he said, but deep in his mind he knew the immortal goddess. Now the suitors turned to dance and song, to the lively beat and sway, waiting for dusk to come upon them there. And the dark night came upon them, lost in pleasure, finally to bed, each to his own house. Telemachus, off to his bedroom, built in a fine courtroom, a commanding, lofty room set well apart, retired too, his spirit swarming with misgivings. His devoted nurse attended him, bearing a glowing torch. You paid a price for the woman years ago, still in the bloom of earth. He traded 20 oxen, honored her on a par with his own loyal wife at home, but fearing the queen's anger, never shared her bed. She was his grandson's escort now, and bore a torch, for she was one of all the maids who loved the prince the most. She nursed him as a baby. He spread the doors of his snug, well-made room, sat down on his bed and pulled his soft shirt off, tossed it onto the old woman's conscientious hands, and after folding it neatly, patting it smooth, she hung it on a peg beside his corded bed, then padded from the bedroom, drawing the door shut with the silver hook, sliding the door bolt home with a raw hide strap. There all night long, wrapped in a sheep's warm fleece, he weighed in his mind the course Athenia charted.
Well, that's a very tough act to follow. Father Peter, thank you so much. An awesome beginning to our event. I invite you all to stay on. With some awe and trepidation, I guess I'll take up the baton, and then we have students and staff, faculty, colleagues throughout the university, and the community who have volunteered to also read. If you'll forgive me, I'll just take a minute, we'll find our place, and I'll step down from the podium and continue on, and feel free to also circulate and get some coffee and drinks, and we'll take it from there. So let's take a couple of minutes and regroup, and thanks again, Father Peter.